The Dexter TV show introduced some seriously messed up villains. Trinity, Jordan Chase and the Brain Surgeon, just to name a few. But what if I told you that the books took things to a whole new level? Perhaps a level too dark for TV. Today we're going through every major Dexter book villain, who they are, what makes them terrifying and which TV villains they helped inspire. And if you're a sensitive viewer, I actually strongly suggest that you turn this video off right now, because in this video I will talk about some really messed up things. And as a bonus at the end I will be ranking all of these killers from least to most disturbing, so definitely stick around for that. But now, without further ado, let's dive into it, okay? Throughout 8 Dexter books, each one introduces a unique villain, and what better place to start than with one of the villains who actually made it into the TV show, Biran Moser. Brian in the books is almost unrecognizable from his TV counterpart, both in appearance and in story. And yes, I said books as in multiple because unlike the show, Dexter actually doesn't kill him. Instead of the darkly dreaming Dexter, which is the first book, Brian goes from being a villain to becoming a twisted but reoccurring part of Dexter's life. He even introduces himself to Rita and the kids as Dexter's brother, which is, to me, pretty crazy. But of course, Brian is still very much a serial killer in the books, but he carries a completely different nickname. Instead of being the Ice Truck Killer, he's known as the Tamayami Slasher or the Tamayami Butcher. If you want a more in-depth breakdown of Brian's book counterpart, I actually have a full video covering him on the channel, so definitely go and check that out. Imagine waking up on an operating table, terrified and unable to scream because your tongue has already been removed. And the only thing you can see is your own reflection in the mirror that's been propped up in front of you. A sadistic surgeon looms over you and invites you to play a game of hangman. Every wrong answer costs you a piece of your body, and by the end you're alive but barely human. A limbless, mutilated stub. A yodeling potato. This nightmare is Martin Henker, better known as Dr. Danco, an ex-military surgeon and torturer turned serial mutilator. He is the main antagonist of dearly devoted Dexter and one of the most disturbing villains in the entire Dexter book series. His methods? He keeps his victims conscious as he surgically removes their limbs, lips, eyelids, pretty much everything except what's essential to keep them alive. His nickname Dr. Danco was given to him by his own military comrades, including Sergeant Oaks. The name comes from a vegetable slicing machine, the gruesome joke being that like the device he made sliced vegetables out of people. Despite his horrific methods, he only has one confirmed kill. So all of his victims pretty much became like crazy because they were trapped inside their own bodies. Though Dr. Danco never appeared in the Dexter TV series for, obvious reasons, many believe that he inspired season 3's torturer George King, the Skinner. The Cult of Moloch is a secretive sect of Moloch-worshipping killers introduced in the 3rd Dexter novel, Dexter in the Dark. Known collectively as the Watcher, they operate as if guided by one mind, stalking Dexter Morgan throughout the story. What makes them truly terrifying is their gruesome ritual killings. In one case, 2 university students were found burned and beheaded with, I don't know really how to pronounce it, but with ceramic bullheads on their bodies, those things that you do pots with, you know what I mean. This scene was so disturbing that it actually frightened Dexter's dark passenger into silence. And if you didn't know, Moloch is actually like a myth in the real world, and it could be described as a godlike creature or like a demon of some sort. And Moloch is often linked to child sacrifice, so this group in Dexter also sacrifices children in the name of Moloch. The cult views Dexter's dark passenger as being an offspring of Moloch and a dangerous threat to their cause. The cult actually kidnaps Dexter's stepchildren Astor and Cody to lure Dexter into a deadly trap. At the heart of the cult is an unnamed elder who serves as Moloch's avatar and leads their rituals. In the final showdown, the elder tries to sacrifice Dexter and the children in a fire pit, but Dexter's young stepson actually intervenes and fatally stabs the cult leader in the back, so Cody got the final kill cam in book 3. Weiss is the main antagonist of Jeff Lindsay's novel Dexter by Design, which is the 4th book in order. Once a writer for Miami's Tourism Bureau, he reinvents himself as a modern artist and a serial killer. Weiss uses murder as his canvas, posing victims' bodies as grotesque public art installations that, mock local tourist attractions. He often strangles his victims with a thin fishing line, recording the whole process, even editing his kills into twisted travel commercial videos that he posts online. A Weiss art spree soon hits home, okay? Dexter's sister Deborah is stabbed while investigating the murders and nearly dies. The crime later traced back to Weiss. Enraged, Dexter kills a person named Alex Donovich, wrongly believing that he was the murderer, only to learn that Donovich was Weiss's lover and the only person keeping Weiss's murderous impulses in check. With that restraint gone, Weiss snaps and seeks revenge. He targets Dexter's family and he attempts to kidnap Dexter's stepchildren and even abducts Dexter's wife Rita. And like I said before, Brandon really enjoyed, recording and editing murder videos, and he actually recorded and caught Dexter on tape
in the war room by myself with him chilling,
killing a person. And of course he tries to kidnap Aster and Cody. I mean, you will see this throughout the entire video. Aster and Cody gets kidnapped a lot in the Dexter books. And I cannot help comparing Brandon Weiss to Isaac Serco actually, because at first glance they don't have that much in common, but the main storyline here is that Dexter actually kills his lover, and that makes him, spiral out of control kind of, and that's pretty much the thing that happens in season 7 of Dexter with Isaac. The Coven is a group of cannibalistic murderers who haunt Miami's goth nightclub scene. Elan Acosta, the stepmother of one of the members, Bobby Acosta, is eventually unmasked as the leader of this twisted group. Together, Elan and the Coven presents a rare challenge for Dexter. A medium rare challenge. What makes them truly terrifying is their taste for human flesh. They don't just kill their victims, they eat them. In a disturbing twist, a character named Tyler and a character named Samantha willingly volunteered to be cannibalized due to a fetish, which shows how depraved and manipulative this cult really is. The Coven's body count is gruesome to say the least. Numerous victims vanished or were butchered by these cannibals, including migrant workers who were never heard from again. So the number is unknown but implied to be pretty significant. Imagine this, someone sees Dexter kill, and instead of running, they decide to become him. That's Bernard Allen. In Double Dexter, which is the 6th book, Bernard, an ordinary man turned copycat killer, witnesses Dexter dismember a PDF file, but rather than go to the police, he stalks Dexter and mimics his methods and plays a deadly game of revenge, hiding behind the alias Shadow. He sends cryptic messages, hacks databases to erase his identity, and murders his ex-wife, mutilating her body in the same style like Dexter does to frame him. His motivation? Well, at first it was just simple blackmail. He saw Dexter's secret and wanted to profit. But when Dexter refused to bow to him, Bernard's ego snapped. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about proving he was smarter than Dexter by ruining his life and taking everything away from him. His sickest move, and no, I'm not talking about the kind of sick move you see in a skate park. I'm talking about the kind of sick move you see from a murderer. It was bludgeoning Dexter's co-worker Camilla Fig to death. But things simply just doesn't stop there, okay? Can you guess what his next move is, okay? Something we've never seen before. Very unique. No one had ever done this in the entire book series. Well, of course, he kidnaps Aster and Cody, okay? I mean, we all saw that coming. And by kidnapping Aster and Cody, he lures Dexter to an island for a final showdown. With Aster's help, Dexter overpowers him and throws him into shark-infested waters. So yeah, Bernard actually ends up just like most of Dexter's other victims by being fish food. Interestingly, Bernard's obsession with Dexter mirrors that of Louis Green from the TV series, a hacker with a personal vendetta using tech and manipulation to tear Dexter's life apart from the inside. While Louis never became a killer, Bernard took that dangerous obsession to a whole another level and actually became a murderer. Robert Chase was a Hollywood royalty, charming, talented and adored by millions. But behind the cameras he was a sadistic predator, using his status to hide in plain sight. He wasn't just a killer, he was a man who thrived on power and control, turning his victims into objects of his twisted obsession. In Dexter's final cut, which is the 7th book, Chase became fixated on his co-star Jackie Forrest. He didn't just want her, he wanted to own her, control her and break her. But before he could take Jackie for himself, he hunted down and murdered women who resembled her. Their faces were left brutally disfigured, and then came the most horrifying discovery. There's in the eye socket, Vince muttered, shaking his head. Dexter had seen many horrors in his time, but even he was shaken. The real signature work had been done with teeth, fists, fingernails, and other more intimate body parts. A declaration of total power, a statement that I own you and I can do anything I want to you. That's just straight up nightmare fuel right there. And this guy somehow gets, more disturbing, okay, because things about to get even worse. Robert's sickest secret. He wasn't just a murderer. He preyed on the young and vulnerable long before his killing spree. He regularly took trips south of the border where his influence granted him access to, young victims. When Jackie discovered his twisted nature, she became the next victim. Another woman named Kathy had caught him being very inappropriate with Astor, Dexter's stepdaughter, and for that he killed her. Then came his final and most devastating act that pretty much changed everything in the Dexter book series. He murdered Dexter's wife Rita and framed Dexter for it, ensuring that Dexter lost everything: his family, his freedom, and his future. Even then, Chase wasn't finished. He had been grooming Astor and lured her with promises of Hollywood stardom. But after Dexter tells Astor that, Chase will be going to prison and then she wouldn't be able to have any fame in Hollywood, then she actually ends up stabbing Chase to death, and that's pretty crazy. So both Cody and Astor are murderers in the Dexter books. That's pretty insane. So unlike the TV series where Arthur Mitchell, aka the Trinity Killer, murdered Rita, here it was Robert Chase. And I can't really move on from this segment without addressing the fact that he shares the same last name as Jordan Chase, the main antagonist from season 5. But the last name isn't the only thing they both have in common. Both Robert and Jordan are, very famous people with a lot of money and a lot of contacts, because Robert was an actor and Jordan was an inspirational, motivational speaker. And when it comes to their criminal life, both killed women, and both killed actually blonde women, so that they have that in common. And they also share the fact that they did beyond horrific things to these poor women before ending them. Things that I really can't bring up on YouTube. Raul wasn't just a criminal, he was a powerful and untouchable kingpin, ruling the Miami drug trade with an iron fist. He used violence as a language, and anyone who crossed him didn't live long enough to regret it. Dexter and his brother Brian ended up on Raul's hit list after Brian stole a massive sum of money from him, but instead of just sending hitmen, Raul turned it into a personal vendetta. The most sadistic move was when he, can you guess it? Yeah, kidnapped Dexter's children, but this time including his infant daughter, and held them hostage on his yacht, forcing Dexter into a final desperate fight. In the end, Dexter, Brian and Deborah launched an all-out assault on Raul's yacht. In the chaos, he personally shot Dexter, grinding his boot into the wound just to savor his suffering. He was moments away from finishing him off, pause, when Deborah put a bullet in his head, and finally, put an end to his regime of terror. But for Dexter, it was too late. Brian was dead, his body had been shattered by an explosion, his children were traumatized, and Dexter himself, he was bleeding out and sinking into the ocean, left with nothing. Very poetic. He ended up in the same place as all his previous victims. So yeah, that was all the big bads from the Dexter book series, and now, like I promised in the beginning, let's rank these guys and gals from least to most disturbing, okay? So yeah, here we have my ranking. In the top here we have Dr. Danco, and at the second place we have Robert Chase. But these guys, to me, they share the first place to me, because they are both super duper disturbing in their own ways. Then we have Alana Acosta and the Coven, and they are cannibals, so to me that's pretty disturbing, and that whole book is pretty disturbing. And then after that we have Moloch, sacrificing children, pretty disturbing, okay, especially by throwing them into a fire pit or a oven of some sort. That's pretty messed up.